You know, when you were a kid and you were given a treasure map, you know, it's this super crazy thing to be given as a kid. You're like, oh my God, and we can actually go get this treasure. You know, so it's that same childlike wonder I think puzzles bring to people. You go through all sorts of crazy emotions, you know, trying to solve it, that when you get to the end, there's this feeling of overwhelming like elation, like, oh, so sick. So with puzzles, I mean, there's so much to discover. It's kind of a never-ending journey.
Puzzles are the perfect fit for anyone stuck inside right now, that they can just kind of goof around on something.
After the pandemic, I found, I don't know what it is, I don't know what it does, but I'm sending it back in time to you. Good morning!
I got back from a trip on March 12th from Las Vegas, and since then I've been in quarantine. You know, particular area in Quebec where I'm at right now, they've got roadblocks set outside of cities, and you'll get fined if you try and leave or come in without a good reason. So it's really been tight lockdown here. My job allows me to work alone, work from home, in this case the office, which is next to my house. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. Since quarantine and lockdown, we've been posting probably about 4 to 6 videos a week. I try to put one out every day, if not every other day. You know, by doing this is kind of fun because a lot of people, like, all they're doing is kind of watching videos anyways. So I think that a lot of people are turning to things that they can do in their home right now. So, you know, one of those being puzzles or board game.
About to finish another quarantine puzzle.
For one, you don't need anyone else. Like, you can do it by yourself. 2, I think it is kind of stimulating for your mind. The fact that you are forced to think creatively and critically in a way that you would normally not think. So if we're on our phones or if we're doing anything that's sort of automatic, you're on kind of autopilot. So this really forces your mind to think about one problem in different ways and to really try and figure it out and have fun in that way.
All right, so here we are. I like how you kept the place clean.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone's got to.
This is the studio. I was working for a magic company, creating and selling magic tricks. And at the same time I was building up their social media platforms, I was building up my own. Puzzles didn't come until a few years later, where I was at the showroom once and I saw this lock on a shelf. And I asked them what it was, and they said it was a puzzle, which struck me as a little bit off because that's not normally how you see a puzzle. And sure enough, it was an amazing piece. It like came apart, and there was tools within the lock that helped you open the lock. And it took me like 4 hours to solve, and I did it on camera, not expecting anything. I thought, I'll just film my process and see what happens.
I'm a magician, for those of you who don't know me. So the idea here today, I'm going to use that sort of magician's ingenuity and my sort of personal intuition to try and solve this particular lock puzzle.
First couple puzzles I put up, eventually just really popped off. It kind of escalated really quickly. Went from like 100,000 to 500,000 to 2 million to now 3.5 million subscribers. Roughly, which is crazy. I think the lock puzzles, for one, at first were really picking up because I think it's just such a normal, regular item that, you know, providing a key and a lock and telling you the key doesn't work in this lock, but it still has to somehow open it, like, that's such a weird mystery. Probably one of the most famous lock puzzle creators is Rainer Popp. He's a German locksmith, I believe, out of Munich, Germany. And his passion was to restore old locks, but I guess he also grew an appreciation for how they worked. So it does take several different degrees of difficulty before one of these locks are created, which is, I think, why they're so rare, why they're hard to come by, because they're not milled in a factory, you know, overseas. They're done in somebody's garage or basement. You know, and he only makes so few of them before, I guess, his hands get tired. So this guy makes these locks every year. They started from T1 to T2, T3, now on to T11, I think we solved. We're gonna be solving the T7 lock. This one particularly has no key. which is interesting for a lock, right? Because it doesn't have a number combination, it doesn't have anything of that. So it just looks like a closed lock. So kind of going in blind. I'm really excited to see how it opens and to see if I can open it at all. There you go, the T7 pop lock. Sometimes things go according to plan. For the most part, the puzzles that we do here tend to be difficult, and they tend to take a long time. A lot of the puzzles that we do, we either have custom made or we find them in auctions or are very pricey. So it's not something you can go out and buy, but you still want to enjoy that solving process. It's not only how the puzzle is made or how it's solved, but you're watching someone go through it. And I think people really connect with that. There's definitely an ASMR factor to it. What's the technical ASMR? Is audio stimulizing. Hey Siri, what does ASMR stand for?
I found this on the web.
Autonomous sensory meridian response. So I guess there's a response somewhere in your brain that reacts positively to stimulating sounds. There's something calming about it. You know, I am calm during these puzzles, but internally, sometimes there's an immense amount of frustration because I'll be on a puzzle for like 4 hours, right? And I feel like I have better things to do. Most of it is just kind of trial and error. Oh, that has to go down first. There we go. I think people are attracted to watching other people go through shit. Whether or not it's with a puzzle or whether it's with anything else. I think it's just fun to see someone actually go through a thought process because it kind of is self-reflecting on yourself and how would I do that? How would I approach that? A lot of these puzzles have internal mazes with objects dropping around or slapping on each other on the inside of the puzzle. And for everyone else at home, I have to kind of translate that. So that's what the inside looks like. There's a bit of an internal maze, just as I deduced. You're watching someone go through it, and I think people really connect with that. It definitely does feel like a story. So most of the puzzles that I do are sequential puzzles, which means that you have to solve them in sequence, and you'll figure out the next step once you've figured out the first step, right? So you might be stuck there for an hour, 2 hours, days, who knows? Whatever you know about locks, usually won't serve you, and that's the whole point, is that they want you to go in there knowing about something and finding out that that's exactly how it doesn't work, you know, so now you're left without any knowledge and starting from scratch. So I think that's the interesting part. Boom, done. T7 lock solved. The puzzle community is interesting because it's not unlike the magic community, I'll tell you that. There's a gathering every year that happens called the IPP, the International Puzzle Party. And it happens in different places in the world. This year is in Israel, last year was in Japan. I haven't been yet. I've been asked by friends of mine who are members to go. And it's like an initiation thing. It's kind of strange to partake in the puzzle party or the puzzle exchange where they hand each other puzzles. You have to make a certain number of them for everyone in the group. The first year, you can't actually present a puzzle. You just have to know someone who's presenting and help out. But I think it's super interesting. But that's all I know. I don't think that there's a massive community. And I think that that's what made the videos I do so popular, is that people were finding out that there were other people interested in this super niche hobby. And it could literally appeal to anyone. You don't have to be an expert puzzle solver, whatever that is, or a puzzle maker, collector to enjoy a puzzle. So I think the community that I've established on my channel, at least, is a community of just everyday people who enjoy puzzles. Like, I mean, it's the same people who enjoy board games, I think, or people who enjoy, you know, playing card games with their friends and family. It's something you can do and put back down and come back to a year later. You don't have to finish it now. There's no boundary there for anyone to enjoy that, and I think that's what's really appealing about it.
This is probably the funnest part of the entire thing for me. They did not make this easy on me, that's for sure. There we go.
Videos like mine don't talk about the virus. It's not that I'm not trying to address it. I have addressed it. It's good for everyone to kind of find something that really, like I said, takes them away from screens right now, because I feel that in self-isolation, a lot of people are going to turn to their phones or their computers a lot more now, and I think it's good to keep your mind busy with other things, maybe a little bit more positive in the meanwhile while you self-isolate.
A little bit harder than this one though. Anyways, outro.